Get up, get down. Get up, get down. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning back in. This episode is full of so much goodness. Miki is a yoga and meditation instructor. She is a creative being, an all around just very positive person. I think you guys will enjoy this so much. I am so sorry for at times the audio being either echoey or cutting out. It's been challenging during all of this quarantine and COVID 19 with doing these episodes via Zoom, and maybe the internet was cutting out at times. And I'm just trying to navigate this the best that I can while still being safe and, bringing these conversations to you guys. So I hope in the future that I can up my production and make it a better experience for everyone.
Hi, Miki. Thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you, and I can't wait to see you.
Thank you.
So I really just want to start this out, and you're such a real person, and I feel like you share that in such a nice way with your followers, and I think when it comes to social media and just kind of like the world we live in nowadays, everyone is like so dehumanized, and we just like see these posts that people have, and we think everyone is living this beautiful life and they're happy all the time, and that's just not always the case. So I just kind of asking everybody, like, how are you really doing? And the world is crazy right now. Like, I'm sure you're feeling some type of way, and unless you're feeling amazing, I just want to hear kind of how you're doing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been riding the waves of emotion, and there was a time in my life where I was very numb and didn't allow myself to experience any negativity really, and I would just like bottle everything in and plaster on this happy face and like tell everyone that everything was okay. And meanwhile, I'm like having a breakdown inside. So I've done a lot of work to change those habits and patterns and to really like embrace feeling, which was very scary because I went from like blocking everything out to just letting it all in. So at times it can be very emotional, and I just like I take on the feeling of the world, and I can really resonate with the pain and suffering that people are experiencing. I mean, I can't relate exactly to how everyone else is feeling, but I know that we all go through our own struggles throughout life, and it's hard. And right now, it's a hard time. It's hard to know what to say, how to say it. Do you go out? Do you stay in? Like, there's a lot of new information that we're being asked to process, and we're also being asked to change the way that we live and show up in the world radically, and it's different every week. So it's been a lot. It's been really overwhelming and at times like paralyzing. Like I will wake up and not want to start the day, just like hide in bed and just not do anything because I don't want to deal with what's happening out there. But there's also been good days, and I'm having support from my family and from my boyfriend, just giving me those reminders and holding me accountable. Like, yeah, it's okay to feel everything that's happening, but at the same time, like this craziness has been happening in our world for as long as you and I have been alive, and it's just being brought to our attention so much more that we can't ignore it. And we still have to live and wake up and do the things to take care of ourselves. So I've been trying to make my wellness practices a non-negotiable. And I notice that when I'm like feeling really shitty and really sad, and like then I start to go get down on myself for feeling bad. So it's this like vicious cycle of like being sad and then being guilty for feeling bad and then make myself feel worse. But when I do yoga and meditate regularly and do journaling and just like move my body and sweat and get outside and take care of those little things, I feel like I'm starting to feel a little bit better.
So
I'm okay. I'm alive.
Good. I know. I think it's important to notice. I mean, everything you said is perfect. But like hit on every point of like, you have to be aware of what's going on, and it's been going on, and like you should be feeling those emotions, like rightfully so. And like, people who aren't as privileged have to feel that all the time. But it's like you're saying, you know, you still have to live your life and you have to fill your cup up first, and you can't really do much to help unless you're feeling full. It's like definitely that cycle. It's hard, and it's hard to know what to say, what not to say. But I think the most important thing is to talk, and you're definitely doing that. And I think that is the most important step and the first step to it. So that's great. Yeah, of course.
I mean, I think back to like our tribal, you know, our ancestors who lived in tribes, and the men would go out and hunt in silence, but the women would stay in community and talk. And just as women, talking is so healing, even if it's not necessarily solution oriented, but just expressing ourselves and not being so closed off. It's something I've had to work on for my entire life, is to be able to say what I need to say for myself. And now I have the privilege and the platform to be able to use my voice not only for myself, but for other people who haven't had the same opportunity.
I think overall a lot of people are using it in a good way. You know, people are staying silent, and that's where it gets a little, you know, it's like, how do you feel about people that you're with aren't talking and all these things? And
I feel like I know a lot of people, but I'm only very close with a few people, and the people in my life, I make it a priority. You know, like they have to align with my beliefs and my values, and that's of equality and of peace and of love and of harmony and acceptance. If someone's not on those same wavelengths, then they're just not in my life, and I don't have room for anyone who isn't gonna meet me at, you know, the level I am, and I want to keep expanding and growing and, you know, becoming the best version of myself. And if there's someone who I know that's just not doing that, I simply don't give him any of my attention, because there, as we know, are so many more important things to put my time and energy and attention to, and those people, they just fall away like dead leaves off a tree.
totally. And I hope that, and I think it has been happening, you know, people are being held accountable, and people are letting go of maybe friendships that don't really align with their beliefs and stuff. Like, because I feel like you grow up with these friends, you bring them into high school, maybe college, and it's hard to just let go of old friendships. But
Oh yeah.
something like this is like a big wake up call to be like, you know, those friends might not be aligning with me. Like, I should probably, like you said, dead leaves.
Yeah, well, I think it's also important, like, to reassess where you're at as you go through these different stages of life, like who I am now versus who I was in high school or even 5 years ago. It's like a completely different version of myself, and taking the time to check in, like, what are the kinds of people I want in my life? Like, what are their values? How do I want to feel around those people that I'm allowing to come close to me? And checking in, like, are my close circle of friends like meeting these it's not expectations, but just standards, like knowing yourself and knowing what you tolerate, what you believe in. And it's much easier when you know yourself to understand and to see if other people match with you, if they're on the same like vibrational wavelength. And if they're not, then you feel the resistance, the tension. It doesn't feel like an easy friendship. And it's just about like knowing when and where to place your attention and focus.
Mhm. And I think it comes back to also like that inner work of like finding out really what your beliefs are, and then voicing that to people, or going to those people that you're like, actually, you don't align with me, and then bringing that back. So I was just curious, like, you know, your life has been wild lately. Like, you've moved around. Like, how have you been staying in touch with like your support system? Like, have you been able to see friends? Like, how has that worked out for you?
It's been really interesting. I mean, I've been nomadic really for like over a year. I mean, we just moved into a house for the next 4 months, and that's like the longest I've been in one place for a while. So it can for sure be challenging to have that like core group of people to support you, especially like when I'm all over the world. Luckily, I've been able to find some amazing friends, some like-minded people in different parts of the world, which is awesome, because my intention was really to create like a global community. Yeah, I feel it like now. You know, we moved to a new city, and everyone's wearing masks in public, things aren't open for socializing, and so I also haven't had, I have my boyfriend who's amazing. I'm so grateful that he's there for me, and he's like keeps me real and in check, but I do miss like having my girlfriends, and I feel that too, and this whole pandemic has truly separated us from each other so much, and like, we've been forced to stay inside, and yes, of course, it's awesome that we have the ability to connect online, and we're in different parts of the world right now, and we can still chat and have a meaningful conversation. I have a personal tendency to seclude myself anyways, and so on top of like staying inside, like I can definitely retreat inside myself, and I have to make a very conscious effort to go out into the world and to show up on my Instagram and to call my friends and to call my family. Like I have to be the one to take the initiative, because otherwise I'll just like go into isolation. And anytime that I am finding myself feeling really low, I do get on the phone with my mom or with my girlfriends or my sister. Like, I'm reminded, okay, I'm not actually as alone as I was feeling, and maybe I was blowing things out of proportion in my mind, because everything that you store in your mind is always like so much worse or so much more dramatic or so much more terrible. And when you actually like say it out loud, again, it's like having people hold you accountable.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like, I'm staying with my boyfriend. I haven't seen any of my girlfriends, and like I feel like at times I was finding myself just not speaking about how I was feeling, because I was like, oh, I'm like, no one else is feeling this way. But then once you talk to people, then most people are like, yeah, I feel exactly the same way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad you have that support system, and it's very cool that you have that global community. And like, I mean, like you and I, we met in like a totally different country, and now we're like in different parts of the country now, and it's just wild. So I really like, I'm just so genuinely curious about how everything worked out when you moved from Cape Town to like LA and then Austin. I would basically just like, how long you were there, because I actually don't even really know, and then how the hell did Kane get you guys out of there, and then how did it work out with LA? Just like start from the beginning.
Okay, so we got to Cape Town last December, and so as an American, we get 90-day visa on arrival. It's like 3 months. So we were living there, and we've been traveling, and we didn't really have a plan, but it was one of those places that we're just like, yeah, I want to be here. And so we were there for like 5 months, or actually a little bit longer, like almost 6 months in total. So in March, I had to go out of the country to renew my visa if I wanted to stay longer. So we had planned a trip to Zambia and Zimbabwe and Botswana to go on safari and just see some other like amazing African countries while we were in South Africa. So we had already had that trip like planned and booked and tickets and everything. And that was like March 15th through the 17th or something like that. And it was like right after all the craziness happened, and everyone was like just starting to isolate, but no one really knew what was going on. So we were in Zambia when the South African president announced that he was closing the borders on March 18th, literally like the day after we got back to Cape Town. So we slid back in there, and that was like a crazy relief, because we were like, are we going to be able to get back into the country? Like, are we going to get stuck in Zambia? Like, it's already one thing to be stuck in Cape Town, but at least it's like a very modern city. So we got back, and we're like, okay, well, we weren't really sure, like, are we going to stay? Can we stay? And things just started to shut down very quickly and very intensely there. So the lockdown in South Africa was because of their population. About half of the population is more predisposed to be immunocompromised, because they have higher tuberculosis and HIV, and they have like a huge gap between the class levels. So there's like miles and miles of shanty towns, and they just needed to protect those people who don't have access to running water. You know, they didn't want to overwhelm the healthcare system. So they shut everything down. They closed the airports. They shut every restaurant, no coffee shops, nothing except for grocery stores and pharmacies were open. You weren't even allowed to walk outside. You couldn't go for a walk. Like, we would get stopped by the police going to the store. It was so intense and so crazy, and like I couldn't work, and you know, at first we were like, oh, we'll be able to like get home in like a month. This is fine. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And we kept checking, and there's no flights. And then finally, we heard about embassies basically sending repatriation flights. So we called the U.S. Embassy, and they were like, no, we're not sending any more flights to South Africa. And we called all the airlines, and they were like, there's no flights until the earliest August, maybe. And we were like, oh, fuck, what are we going to do? Like, there's literally zero flights. And the only maybe option is like going to the Middle East, but then getting stuck there was like stressful. So Kane called his mom is Swedish, so he just started calling different European embassies, like, hey, maybe can we? And he basically got a hold of the Dutch embassy and convinced them to let us fly on their repatriation flight. And this was like 3 days before the flight, by the way. And in order to get on their flight, we had to have proof that we were leaving Europe, because non-European citizens weren't allowed to leave the airport. So we had to buy our tickets from Europe all the way back to LA, which was, okay, so it was just so crazy. Like, first, just to get on the flight, we had to meet at the stadium in Cape Town to do like a health screening, and that was at like 5:30 in the morning. So we go there, we wait, they take our temperature questions, you know, that whole thing. And then finally, like 3.5 hours later, we go on a bus. We go to the airport, just on a bus, and, you know, just everything is like taking so long because the airports are actually closed. So there's just like, it was such a strange and eerie feeling, anyways. And so this first flight is from South Africa to Amsterdam, but because it's a repatriation flight, they needed to make a stop. So we flew 5 hours in the opposite direction and had to land on this little island off of Madagascar and change the crew and wait in the plane for 2 hours before taking another 12-hour flight. So the first flight, we were on the plane for 17 hours from Cape Town to Amsterdam without getting off. And they didn't have any food service because they weren't allowed to. So they gave us a plastic baggie that had like an apple, Twix, a muffin. Like, I don't eat sugar or grains. It's like, cool, I'm not going to eat for 17 hours. Like, it was stressful. So we get to Amsterdam, layover, and then we flew from Amsterdam to London, another layover from London to Dallas. And that was like another 10-hour flight. But luckily, it was a 300-seater plane, and there was like 28 people on it. It was crazy. So we tried to row, and it was lovely. Then we got from Dallas, and from Dallas to LA, it was like the plane was packed and super full, and like it was 4 flights to get there, over 40 hours of travel to get home, and it was just like such a hectic situation. Usually I stay with my family, but they were all super nervous because we were traveling internationally, and you know, my grandma's older, so it's just like we didn't have a place to stay, and it was like trying to figure out where we're going to stay when we get home, and everything was just like, oh my god. But we got back to LA, and basically like started looking for places, and it was so expensive, and just then we started looking for places in Austin and found an awesome house for like half the price of anything in LA with like a yard. So we were like, we're just gonna go there. And then we drove from California to Austin. It took like 20 hours, and we've been here for the last like 2.5 weeks, and now you're here.
Now you can breathe.
Yeah, a little.
That is so wild. Oh my goodness. And that's so
crazy.
What airline were you on that it was so crowded from Dallas to LA?
I don't remember. It was like, but they weren't following any of the guidelines. Now, I mean, there's all this information coming out. Like, don't even get me started. I will go deep into conspiracy about Corona. But
please do it. Like, I just to go.
I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I definitely believe that it's not as bad as they made it seem, and that the government was instilling a deep fear and encouraging people to be separate and fearful of one another and themselves, even to be able to manipulate and control people. Because the numbers show very clearly that the death toll isn't more astronomical than the flu itself, and now they're saying that it can't even be spread by contact, and if you're asymptomatic, you can't spread it. So it's just like we've been told all these lies and exaggerations to feel terrified. And I know that, like, I've felt that even though I'm a healthy young person. So it was just frustrating to have to like deal with so much when I don't think that. I mean, look, people are protesting in the streets shoulder to shoulder, and there hasn't been like a spike in cases. People aren't dying on the street, falling over from corona. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's like one of those things where I totally see the side of what you're saying, and it's like I feel the same way, but it's like with the internet there's just so much information out there, like even if it is false or real, it's like we can't even really know like what's even going on. And like I'm totally on your side of like things are
crazy.
coming out and then they're like rebutting them the next day, and it's just so back and forth, and it's just like what's even going on, like how are we supposed to like feel. Like I literally feel like in a state of panic all the time right now because of this, and like my life has been so incredibly uprooted that I just like, so it's exactly what you're saying, like they just want us to be fearful. And although yes, it is like obviously, but it's like,
Yes.
should we really be so terrified to the point of like not living our lives?
But also at the same time, like 2 points. One, that fear and that panic, that affects our immune system. Like living in fear, it deteriorates your insides. Like I know that I feel more susceptible when I'm panicking and anxious and not taking care of myself. And then second thing is they're not emphasizing taking care of yourself. Like the people who are dying, they are overweight and often older than like 85 or whatever the number is. It's like no one's saying, hey, stop eating sugar, exercise, drink water, go outside, like be a healthy person, stop eating processed foods, like get off your couch. No one's saying that. They're like stay inside and become a couch potato and get sick. So your community can control you.
Right. And then it's also perpetuating that whole like, people, it's so funny because like I was going to the grocery store to shop like, when I was quarantined, and it's hilarious because like I don't love labels with when it comes to food, but I really do enjoy eating vegan like I usually do. I kid you not, there was so much vegan food like left in the aisles, and just like all the eggs, the meat, the cheese, everything is taken. It's like exactly like it puts people in this fear back to like the olden days where it's like meat and potatoes, like, and it's exactly what you're saying. Like it's just making people more unhealthy and not putting their immune system up. And like, this is a whole other topic, but like, Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, like that is totally not talked about at all. And they're just like antibiotics and all of this stuff. I mean, that's a totally other topic.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's like this overarching theme of us constantly, being addicted or needing to be validated by or guided by this external force. Like we're seeking outside of ourselves for answers, for direction, for validation, instead of using these other tools that we know work to go within and strengthen ourselves. Like we each have the ability to be in perfect health, in perfect balance. And like, yeah, we have to deal with the craziness of the world, but we are capable. It's just hard when you're being fed all this stuff and there's like all this information and social media, and it's like we're constantly taking so much in from outside of ourselves that we don't even have time to deal with what's actually going on within. But it's powerful. Like it's powerful stuff to even have these conversations and tell people like, hey, you actually can control more of your life than you're giving yourself credit for, but you have to own up and take that responsibility and make it a priority. Like, I know for myself, like, when I don't, what happens, I feel like shit. I'm not a happy, good person out in the world. And when I do take care of myself, I can show up for other people. I can teach classes. I can guide meditations. I can remind people of what they're capable of. But if I'm laying in bed all day crying and making myself feel bad about myself, I can't do any of that good stuff.
I think that's so powerful. I'm really glad you said that, because I think that's for like a lot of people. People are starting businesses. They're starting to realize, like, my voice needs to be heard. I need to get out there and share this for people. But a lot of people aren't feeling that way. They're feeling scared and fearful. No one's gonna buy my stuff. No one's gonna listen to me. So it's like it's definitely that back and forth. And like, something I did also want to say is like what you were saying. We're getting all this external stuff. It's like we don't even know, like, am I feeling my own feelings, or am I feeling like the feelings of the entire
Totally.
like, I know at first I was feeling like so heavy, like I can't even explain it. Like I was so snappy at everybody around me because I just felt like I was collecting everybody else's shit, and everyone was like, hey, look at the news, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I'm like, I have, like, please just stop showing it to me. Like I have to. And like, I obviously that's like goes back to like your privilege if you don't have to look at those things and worry about those things. But like, it also is like you have to fill your own cup up first, or you can't help anybody else.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And we're not necessarily taught that. Like, we've grown up in this society where we're taught from such a young age to please everyone else around us, and instead of trying to figure out what makes us happy and feel fulfilled and feel good on our own. Like, so many people go through life just trying to please other people, their parents, society, their partner, and they're not happy. And they spend years and years of their time going down these paths of, chasing that external validation and feeling miserable inside. And I just think this whole time, like, that we've been sequestered to ourselves, and like all of this stuff has come up, and it's such a good opportunity for us to look clearly or look at ourselves honestly and ask, like, how am I contributing? Like, am I contributing positively? What are my patterns? What are my beliefs? Like, what triggers me? What makes me react versus respond? And like, I've definitely done a lot of soul searching and asking myself, like, how am I being responsible for myself? How can I be more responsible? And noticing my patterns of, like, when I do go into that dark place, and how I can get myself out of that. But everything is a mirror. Like, this outer chaos is just a reflection of how much we're suffering inside. We feel disconnected from ourselves, and so of course we feel disconnected from one another. If people took time to love themselves and accept themselves fully, there would be no judgment of anyone else. You wouldn't feel the need to change or control someone else if they weren't living their life to please you, because you are living your life to please you and to fulfill yourself. And we've gotten so far away from that. Look at all the suffering it's caused. I mean, people are hurting all over the world. And yeah, it's like you can feel everyone else's pain because we are all connected. There is a collective consciousness and a collective energy. And I mean, I feel so much more emotional than I ever have. And it's like coming out of me, and I'm not going to stop it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think I had like so many thoughts come up during that. I think that's kind of the perfect transition into, you were talking about how you kind of like follow like the norm and like finding kind of like what sets you apart, those types of things. And I feel like your entire adult life has kind of been almost like rebelling against the norm of society. And I just, with you moving across the world and traveling and being so nomadic and like getting rid of your material things when we're in such a materialistic world, and just like I feel like everything you stand for is so out of the norm of what most people do, which is so great. And I just kind of wanted to talk about more on the side of just traveling, and what kind of like brought you to the point of being like, I just want to sell everything and I just want to go, this is the life I want to live.
I mean, I feel very fortunate that my family is like not normal at school. Everyone is very artistic and like has definitely created their own path. My parents never said like, hey, you have to go to college and get a job after school. They were like, what do you want to do? And so I was like, I want to move to Paris. So I started traveling by myself at a young age. I was 17 when I went. I lived there alone, and like it just was the catalyst of like, oh, I can do this. I can do scary things by myself, and I want to see the world. And there have been different bouts in my life where I've gone and lived in other places and traveled, and it's always been deeply fulfilling, and always where I've learned the most about myself. And I just got to a point where I was like living in this like unconscious cycle of just doing things because I was doing them. Like, nothing was growing or expanding. I was just like doing the same things every day and paying so much money for rent and just like not happy with where I was. And, I wanted change, but I didn't know what to do or and luckily I met Kane. Well, I already knew him, but he and I got together, my boyfriend, and he he was like, wait, how much are you paying for rent? And I told him, he was like, oh no, like we can live like royalty anywhere else in the world. And so he started showing me these apartments in Thailand, and they were less than 1/4 of what I was paying for rent in LA. And I was like, hell yes, like I want to go there. And it just, all of my stuff felt so heavy, and like it was a part of this other version of myself that thought I needed things to make me feel good. Like I used to spend thousands of dollars on freaking designer clothes and shoes and bags, and like I don't even touch any of that stuff. Like I bought it because I thought I had to like fit a certain social standard in LA, and then I would feel guilty wearing those things or showing them off. So I was like, I just sell everything. Like, I don't want to carry this stuff with me. And like, if I don't need it, someone else will like be able to enjoy it. So it just felt good to like get rid of everything. And I also have a personal belief that the more I give, the more I get. And that always comes true for me. And so it just felt like cathartic to like give everything away, to sell it, to just donate it. And yeah, we traveled all over the world for like over a year with just a carry-on bag, and that was awesome and hard, and it felt really nice to buy stuff when we got back to the States, like a coffee machine and a Vitamix and like things that I don't have to carry on my back with me. But I learned so much from that experience, and I really realized like how little I actually need, and that I wear the same thing every single day and I'm happy.